Wow, listening to my colleagues here on council, this will probably turn into another 10-1 vote, but that's okay. Listening to some of the comments from members coming and addressing the council, saying that I've been exposed, that kind of thing. Let me tell you, I haven't changed my stripes one bit since day one. Day one, what was my biggest concern with this plan? There's great parts in this plan, but there's not a single cost associated with any of this. We've had 2 years to develop this plan, 2 years. We don't have any costs from CPS. We don't have any costs from Doug, and thank you very much for working this. I failed to mention that to you. We've been sparring back and forth on this since day one. But I appreciate all the work that you've put into it. And Amy, thanks for coming today and putting your 2 cents worth in on this thing. I'm putting in my 2 cents worth also on this plan. But again, going back to the cost, there's a section in this plan that's still in there that I ask questions about the cost of doing nothing. There's billions of dollars associated with the cost of doing nothing. Is that just for San Antonio? No, that's not just for San Antonio. That's a regional area. But still, we didn't take the time to identify what the potential costs are for this. I don't oppose this plan at all. What I don't agree with is not having those costs. And there's good parts in this plan. Heck, in D10, I'm trying to break up the northeast corridor by planting additional trees on that hot spot up there. You got nothing but concrete. And I want to plant more trees on both sides of the northeast corridor and put islands down that corridor to plant more trees on to break up those hot spots. So I'm all for that. Great ideas in there. And I want to promote that. There was mention that industries out there have environmental plans. Yes, they do. And I think I talked about this in a B session, that yes, they have environmental plans, but I guarantee you they have costs associated with those also on what it's going to cost. They don't go blindly into this and without substantiating whether they're going to make money or not in selling their products. So yes, they do have plans, but they have them costed out as well. I just think that this is kind of risky. We're saying that yes, each one of these parts will be evaluated individually and costed out and then brought here to the council to approve or disapprove. That all sounds great. We'll see how that turns out here in the future and how much this really adds up to over the years. Again, I can't expect my neighbors and your neighbors to just write a blank check for this. I'm very concerned about that. It will impact people's cost of living here in San Antonio. In the recent CPS Flexible Path Survey, 52% stated that affordability was their #1 important consideration, not the environment, but affordability in them providing electricity. There was another study that said 68% of Americans wouldn't pay $10 a month more in higher electricity bills to combat climate action. Not even $10. Even in our own survey, there was one question in that survey: would you pay more for this plan? And the majority said no, they would not. Looking at another survey on those places that have tried to go strictly to renewables, huge impacts on reliability and affordability. You don't have to go very far. Just go down here to Georgetown and ask those residents what's happened to their utility bills by going to 100% renewable energy. I received an email, and this is indicative of a lot of emails that I received, from an 80-year-old D10 resident. And he said, as a retired person in my 80s, I, along with many other citizens in San Antonio, live on limited incomes with no hope of upward adjustments or opportunities to make more money. We know water rates are going up tremendously, and I'm certain that CPS will be forced to raise its rates as it switches to less efficient sources of power. How are we going to protect him? How are we going to protect those? I know we're talking about equity, but at the end of the day, somebody has to pay. Who is that somebody? Are we talking about businesses taking over and paying that difference, that differential? Are we talking about individuals that are going to have to kick in more than others? I'm very concerned about that. We had a Dr. David Turner that talks about what we've done in San Antonio to combat climate change. We've done a lot here. We've actually done billions of dollars of work over the last several decades. The Howard Peak Greenway trails, the Riverwalk, drainage programs, parks, all of that across. And I'm working with my council colleague on establishing another large park outside of 1604. Those are all part of protecting our environment. So we're doing that. We're doing that now. And that's not even counting VIA, SARA, SAWS, CPS, and ACOG on the things that they're doing to promote and protect our environment. I just don't think we need a framework with no cost boundaries at this point. We're already doing a lot here in San Antonio, and we should take credit for that. In fact, our population increased over 4% between 2014 and 2016, a 4% increase. We had a 10% decrease in emissions over that same period of time. So something is working out there. And it's not just San Antonio, but vehicle emissions that have been promoted by the vehicle industry. And yes, government regulations to promote that as well. So a lot of that is already working. And I support that. I don't support this open-ended plan with no cost boundaries or limitations on what it's going to cost. I want to read, just got this letter today from CPS, from Paula Gold Williams, dated October 17th. Let me just read a little bit here. It says, respectively, we do not recommend isolated and premature plant closures. However, we continue to believe there must be a comprehensive plan with thorough assessments and community-wide discussions. For example, accelerating the closure of plants could leave the community in a position of paying twice for energy capacity, paying for the assets already owned and paying for the new solutions simultaneously could make San Antonio one of the most expensive energy markets in Texas and perhaps the nation. Do we really want to do that? Do we really, really want to do that? I don't want this to come at the expense of the taxpayer. That's where I'm coming from. And without those costs being identified, to say, yes, let's adopt this plan, I don't support that, and that's the reason I won't be supporting this plan at this point. That's where I stand. Thank you all very much. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.